Welcome back Exo Fighters to another Exosuit guide, and this time we're going to look into the next most popular Exosuit, or at least from the polls and statistics I've seen, and it is none other than Murasame, the Samurai Tank Exosuit. In this episode we're going to go through some of the basics of Murasame, showcase all of its Exosuit exclusive modules, and I'll also talk about two different builds that I would personally go for currently and I recommend. And before we get any deeper, make sure to leave a comment which Exosuit you would like covered next on the channel, as it greatly helps me choose who to grind next. If you're also interested in further episodes of Exosuit guides for the others, make sure to subscribe, but let's start this one. So as a little introduction to Murasame, he is a melee exosuit wielding, I believe, what is an Odachi, and he specializes in neutralizing damage and countering them with extremely powerful attacks, to the point I would say Murasame is the most offensive exosuit out of the three tanks. The two most important skills you need to know about is Crescent Moon, which is a circular slash with your sword and acts as your taunt, so it forces dinosaurs to focus and attack you. This is vital to know for his combo. And then you have your Vajra counter, which is your damage negating ability, preventing you from taking any damage during its activation, and upon absorbing enough damage you activate a secondary charge mode for your Odachi called Resetsu Stance that gives you a massive attack boost for a period of time, and you also get a chance to activate a counter attack for one giant sword slash around you. Murasame is a tank that plays with the cycle of defense and offense and heavily relies on getting attacked from time to time, which is why Crescent Moon is so important. But this aspect of the exosuit also makes him, I think, a relatively unreliable pick, since who you play with matters a lot. Certain characters such as Witch Doctor or Zephyr can really be frustrating, as they tend to either kill or push away enemies from you, and if your teammates aren't cooperative to let you enable your Resetsu stance, then that's a lot of wasted time and damage for the team, not to mention annoying to play. Now let's take a look at its modules though. The first category is Radiance versus Resetsu Step, and in my opinion currently this is a no-brainer. Resetsu Step is just straight up better for multiple reasons. First, if you counter something, it will be near you either way in both PvE or PvP, so I don't think the increased range is worth it at all. Second, the increased counter damage is barely above 100 damage, and the attack speed increase you get through Resetsu Step is just larger damage boost overall. So I think Radiance just needs a number boost. They likely went for the safe route at balancing. I'm almost sure this will get buffed later. Also for clarity, Resetsu Step is around 40% attack speed boost to you according to my recorded footage, so quite significant damage boost along with increased duration too, which doesn't hurt. Now in case we share the same brain cell, I did test reload efficiency module for Murasame if the Resetsu stance counted as a charging ability, but it is not affected by it, so it does not increase its efficiency like Roadblock Shield or Krieger Minigun, but it was worth a try. Next, it's Steadfast and Decimation, and sadly I think it's the same scenario as the first time. I think Capcom was afraid to give big damage numbers to these modules at launch. Decimation does reduce the cooldown of Crescent Moon by 2 seconds, true, but the damage increase is just 15 damage I believe, which is super low, not even worth mentioning, especially compared to Steadfast, which is a flat 6 seconds cooldown reduction on your Vajra counter, which is invulnerability, a large damage counter, and a stance enabler. Personally, I would increase the damage of Decimation by at least 100%, so it would deal 100 damage in AoE, and then maybe it would be worth considering, but right now it's just way too low. Finally, your modifiers for Hook, Tiger Strafe versus Dragon Strafe. This is actually a really cool category and both are very good. Tiger Strafe will give you another use of Strafe Hook, and by level 5 it won't increase the cooldown time on it. And you know Strafe Hook is a pretty good damaging ability in both PvE and PvP, and the added mobility is also very nice, so if you want to play more aggressive or take the DPS route, Tiger Strafe can be a good choice. Dragon Strafe on the other hand is your tank ability, and while the flinch reduction is nice for it, according to my tests, this is a straight up 50% damage reduction for 7 whole seconds. Both the reduction and the length is excellent, so a very good module to take for the purposes of tanking. So with that said, what build do I recommend as Murasame? Well, I use two different kinds and it depends on the team which one I would use. One for when you have reliable people around you who will allow you to use your counters and be the best Murasame possible, and there is one I would recommend when you're playing with an aggressive team and you can't pull off as many counters as you would prefer. As a little disclaimer, I mostly play PvE and these builds are strictly meant for PvE, but might also work for PvP modes. So the former, I would take Resetsu Step, Steadfast, and Tiger Strafe. This setup will give you the Resetsu attack speed boost for better sustained damage and for longer, and Steadfast will allow you to counter more often, giving valuable defense to yourself and the team, plus all the damage that comes from the counters too. And finally, I choose Tiger Strafe here as I think Strafe Hook can be an excellent source of bonus damage and mobility to support your team even further. But High Soul Module is also a good alternative for more frequent use of your overdrive, which is fantastic for destroying things. The second build, the more random team-oriented one, still takes Resetsu Stab, obviously that's the good choice there, but chooses High Soul Compression Module for more overdrive that just deletes bosses and is reliable, unlike counters when your team doesn't cooperate. And I also swap Tiger Strafe here to Dragon Strafe for that 50% damage reduction when you really need it, allowing you to solo a bit better and stay in danger so you rely less on your team to survive. I think both builds are really good. Again, it mostly depends on who you play with, which is obviously lottery, but in the end, just use the modules that you like and work for your playstyle, because that's what matters the most, and the same goes for rigs. But I like to change rigs in the game so you can always just swap those around depending on what you need. But that is it for the Murasame guide for now, everyone. Hope this video was clear and understandable. You now know everything about the modules and how Murasame works, and as always, if you have any further questions or tips, leave them in the comment section. The game is very new, so who knows, I might have overlooked something as well. Thank you for your support. Just like in the Zephyr video, let me know which character you would be interested in seeing a guide for next, as that really helps me decide who to grind for. But that's it for this video, everyone. Have a wonderful day, Exo Fighters, and I'll see you all the next time.